Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Today's July 24th, and aren't you all looking forward to the weekend? Awesome. Let's take a look at the news today, as well as some of the cool stuff that we'll be doing in the future of this live stream. The first thing is Fears Biotech. I think this headline news right here: Sanofi won't seek approval for eczema drug from key map buyout. It's pretty interesting. Um, Genetic red flags for CAR T therapy side effects. Uh huh. What about this one? Shoots and ladders. R&D vet gets in formulation. Shoots and ladders, whatever that means. Yeah, that actually seems like quite interesting. So let's open that up and then click on the Sanofi one. How about Fierce Biotech? FDA panel endorses broader use of certain peptides. We should take a look at that. The IPO one for Scribe, which is pretty cool. We should take a look at that. Yeah, these are older stories, so maybe open up this one for Scribe, and then open up this peptides decision from the FDA. Yeah, I was just scrolling through the news. This one is about Summit running out of money, which is definitely not good, because it needs to continue fund its trial for evanescimab. Um, so what else? Let's see. From There's actually quite a few headline news today. So the first one that I clicked on was yesterday at 5 p.m. Um, so PDUFA date for evanescimab, which is the FDA decision date, will be November 14th. So this is the big day that the analyst says um, that will be a binary event essentially for Summit. Live or die moment. November 14th it is, okay? Mankind stock surged at 5.7 FDA approval of Ready Flow and $50 million placement. What does Mankind do? We'll take a look later. AbbVie Genmab announced late stage trial setback from lymphoma therapy. Too bad. Nano Viricides announced $3.8 million of registered direct offering. Shares down, of course. Dynamic regains compliance with NASDAQ listing requirements. And Veer Biotechnology announces chief financial officer transition. Radiopharm That Theranostics, not Theranos, but Theranostics announces 4.1 registered direct offering, so they're raising money. J&J, Gilead among recipients of EU drug recommendation. Next Century Growth investors exit Bloom's Energy. That's not even biotech news. Macrogenics slips after early stage trial data for lead asset. Clearbridge ESG strategy adds SpaceX. Okay, that's also not just biotech news. Lisata Therapeutics plunge after sales to Kuva Labs terminated. That sucks, whatever that means. Outlook gains approval of ophthalmic bevacizumab for wet AMD. They're up 6.4%. And MDX Health SA receives NASDAQ non compliance notice. Bad news for that company. Okay, well, there's not a whole lot here. So let's just take a look at the four that we opened up. What are these headlines about? Sanofi abandoned their plans for KeyMap for the drug. They abandoned plans to seek approval for amlitelimab in an atopic dermatitis, admitting that a drug once tipped as a a potential blockbuster would not represent a meaningful improvement to existing treatments. They secured amlitelimab as part of its 1.1 billion acquisition of Keymat back in 2021. But the writing was already on the wall for the anti-exon OX40 ligand antibody as far back as September 2025 when phase 3 trial fell short of analyst expectations, and the bar set by Sanofi and Regeneron's Dupixent, despite hitting the study's key endpoints. For dermatitis, huh? Worst news was to come in January when another phase 3 study recorded a primary endpoint hit but missed on other key measures. Despite the setback, Sanofi committed to seeking approvals based on the totality of data, but not long after Paul Hudson was ousted as Sanofi CEO, in part due to a series of clinical setbacks that included amlitelimab, with R&D chief Ash Shavian later set to follow him out. Hudson's replacement, Belen Garijo, has been charged by Sanofi's board with sorting out the pharma's R&D strategy, has already made her mark by appointing Roche executive Paulo Fontoura, MD, to take over from Ashrafian. And basically, under Garijo's oversight, they made the decision to call time on amlitelimab in AD has determined the totality of efficacy and safety evidence generated to date does not support further development of amlitelimab in AD. Okay, the Paris-based pharma. Maybe let's look at what KeyMap is about. I'm curious. KeyMap. Let's see. What is the history of KeyMap and its lead candidate? How do you spell this? Amlitelimab. Okay. While Gemini is doing its thinking, shoots and ladders. Biogen's R&D vet gets information. A round of significant leadership hiring, firing. Oh, that's what this is for. It's just a special edition of or special article or special series from Fierce Biotech. Yeah, Formation Bio has found new chief scientist. Is joining the 2025 Fierce 15th honoree as chief scientific officer and head of R&D. Michael Eilers. He helped found 4 companies, build Formation Bio. Refreshes executive. All this gossip on the street, not very interesting. Okay. Let's take a look at this one. FDA's panel endorsed broader use of certain peptides. It's a victory for RFK's MAHA agenda. Panelists narrowly recommended broader use for 4 peptides despite a lack of substantive evidence supporting their benefits and safety. So, in close contest, narrow majority recommended adding 4 peptides to the 503A bulk list, a registry of ingredients compounders can legally use to make custom medications for individual patients. 2 peptides were evaluated for wound healing, while BP157, we'll come to that later, And MOTS-C were considered for ulcerative colitis and weight loss. Weight loss? MOTS-C, huh? Can you compete with the likes of Wegovy and Zepbound? That's hard to believe. So, like, a random mom and pop shop made peptide can compete with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk? That's crazy. Debate opening up 3 other candidates on Friday. Oh, this was article from Thursday. So, 2-day advisory panel. Kennedy told podcaster Joe Rogan that he's a big fan of peptides and he used them personally. I wouldn't be surprised. Uh-huh. RFK. Lee also called on peptides to standardize decision making. Brian Lee, associate professor, was worries about patient safety and precedent being set by the proceedings. Endorsement can be potentially harmful. I cannot, in good conscience, vote yes. He said regarding opening up the use of peptide BP 157. Lilly will raise drug price in Europe. Good for Lilly. Okay. Scribe secures 129 million rare. That's actually not much by this year's standards. If you look at the other company that's gone into the IPO mode before Scribe, $15 a piece. 14 companies have priced new stock issuance this year, so already surpassing last year's anemic total. Aside from Scribe, 6 more biotechs have revealed plans in July to go public. These big ticket issuances were largely completed by more mature companies, median about 5 years between raising their first venture funding and going public. All but one had drugs in mid or late stage testing more than any other recent years. Included record-setting IPOs from Kylera and Parabolis. Scribe's IPO is much smaller by comparison, but the company is also much earlier in its development journey. It's also bucking a trend as its offerings first for gene editing company since Metagenomi's 94 million IPO in February 2024. These kind of companies, aka gene editing, struggled of late not only to reach the public market but to grow their value afterwards. As medicines on gene editing technology are largely limited to rare conditions and have yet to become big sellers. Scribe indicated its epigenetic approach can silence gene expression without altering DNA. In one human trial, ST1150 stops production of the PCSK9 protein, is an approach known to drop levels LDL-C and bad cholesterol. Scribes view STX1150 as a longer-lasting alternative to injections and pills, as well as a way to boost flagging adherence rates to cholesterol-lowering drugs. Okay, to preclinical treatment are aimed at a pair of other well-known cardiometabolic targets, the genes LPA and ApoC3. Both are the focus of nucleic acid-based therapies, either in advanced testing or on the market. Good for you, Scribe. Awesome. All right. Before we sign off, let's take a look at KeyMap. KeyMap was a clinical stage company founded in 2010 as the first spin-out from Wellcome Trust Sanger Institute in Cambridge, UK. Companies built around breakthrough proprietary technology platform known as KeyMouse and later part of Intellis Select. Transgenic mice, funding and growth. KeyMap secures significant venture capital and philanthropic backing, raising over $220 million equity financing from investors such as Wellcome Trust and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Life Arc. In January 2021, French pharma giant Sanofi announced an agreement to acquire Keymap for an upfront payment of 1.1 billion. And soon after they had buyer's regret, I'm sure. The history was originally designated as KY1150 as a fully human monoclonal antibody designated to block OX40 ligand, inhibiting the interactions. How was it discovered? Let's see. How did Keymap discover its lead candidate? Let's see. By leveraging its proprietary antibody discovery engine centered around the KeyMouse platform, utilizing the KeyMouse platform, founded as a spin-out. These mice were engineered to carry a full repertoire of human antibody coding genes. When immunized, the platform allowed KeyMap to rapidly generate high-affinity, fully human monoclonal antibody without the need of traditional complex humanization process. Identifying the target. Let's focus on targeting OX40 ligand pathway. Critical regulator of T cell activation for chronic inflammation, immune-mediated disorders. By targeting the ligand rather than receptor itself, the hypothesis could selectively calm an overactive immune response while leaving normal immune functions largely intact. Engineering and screening. The human antibody repertoire generated by the platform Keymap screened and isolated candidate molecules capable of effectively blocking the interaction between OX40L and OX40 receptor. KY1005 emerged as the lead candidate because of its strong binding affinity, specificity, ability to suppress pro-inflammatory T cell pathways in preclinical models. This discovery engine enabled Keymap to transition amlitelimab from early lab research to successful early-stage clinical trials, ultimately attracting attention of Sanofi. Well done. Welcome, Trust Sanger Institute. That's cool. All right. With the news about the approval of BPC 157, not approval, but the yes vote for BPC 157, let's take a look at Cauchy. Why Cauchy? I think everybody in the world has heard the news, the breaking news last week that Cauchy opens betting market for pharmaceutical trials. So basically, clinical trials from now on are fair game for Cauchy and its users to bet on. And yeah, they've already accepted more than $100,000 worth of bets in a new suite of prediction market launched last Thursday, so about a week ago. So that was from July 20, last Thursday, July 16th. July 16th till probably like around maybe July 10th. Yeah, mid to early July. And yeah, so that's in the news. Most available bets will focus on, only allow people to bet on the outcomes of phase 3 trials run by established biopharma companies. Wow. I guess established. What's this chick doing in here? Fintech unicorn. There's two chicks. What are they talking about? I don't really want to hear. Cauchy launched new markets Thursday in partnership with Applied XL, which monitors, predicts the outcome of clinical trials, as if this company really knows what they're talking about. They're going to be settling a lot of disputes. I can bet you that. Yeah, only phase 3 trials run by established biopharma. Most available bets focus on late stage trials run by larger companies with market cap of at least 500 million, like Gilead Sciences. So the barrier to entry is high for the yeah for it's only a tool for large pharma companies to play their game. Other bets include Alzheimer's drug developed by Airy Bio will meet the goals of its late stage trial. Eli Lilly's new weight loss drug, retatrutide. Let's take a look in detail. Employment verification to avoid insider trading, to restrict the market only to people without insider information. The researchers said they still concerned about insider trading and manipulation. Uh-huh. Chief critics contra market will make public. Yeah, I think it's these concerns are definitely legit. It could also influence patients and may decide to withdraw or stay in the study. Those are all, yeah, fair concerns. But of course, nothing overrides Cauchy's argument, counter argument, which is that it will make public pharmaceutical information more public. The company says expert investors, yeah, right. As if expert investors, physicians, and scientists are going to just be like sharing their opinion by making these bets. Initiative making drug development odds public for the first time. I don't really understand how that's beneficial. So let's take a look at Cauchy. So when you go to Cauchy, what the hell? Cauchy, wake up. Okay, I already clicked on this, but when you just start with Cauchy, to find it, you go to Tech and Science. This is how I played around with this a little bit. So this is how you get to the clinical trial section. Tech and Science, and here, hit space medicine. Then you have all the clinical trials. So will the FDA, let's just go over all of them because there aren't that many of them. Will the FDA reclassify BPC 157 as category 1? I don't know which retard like actually opened this market, but I don't know if this is a well-versed question for obvious reasons. Number two, well, FDA approved retatrutide. This will open on August 7th, so we don't have to worry so much about that. We can worry, we can worry, we can check out these other ones that are already open or will be open soon. When will the FDA approve Compass Pathways Comp 360 psilocybin? When will Beam Therapeutics submit a BLA for Ristocell? When will Intellia Therapeutics submit a BLA for Lombo Z? They all open in um, August. This one's March. June. When will the FDA approve Intellia's Lombo Z? Isn't this the same? Isn't this no? It's when will they submit a BLA? Okay. Isn't this just like insiders would just know this inside out? There's no even guessing. If you're working for Intellia Therapeutics, you can know the answer to this question right now. Okay, so FDA decision, iberdomide by BMS Celgene this year, yes or no? When will Compass Pathway submit an NDA for Comp 360? So there's multiple markets already on this drug. This is so odd. It's like approve. Oh, that's for the approval. This is for the submission of the NDA. I can bet you both of my nuts that this is already fully infested with insider information because this is not even about the success of a trial. This is about when does that company plan to submit an NDA, which is the application to the FDA for the drug approval. Like the CEO, CFO, they can just bet on this and reap millions in rewards if the market is big enough. I don't know who would actually bet either for or against it. It's just doesn't make sense. FDA decision, Venglustat by Sanofi this year. I guess the answer is overwhelmingly a yes. FDA decision. Serolglitazar by Zydus Therapeutics. FDA decision. Rusfertide by Protagonist Therapeutics. Yeah, I think this definitely requires the FDA. Staffers of the FDA do not bet on these obvious, I guess not obvious, bet on these trades because or bet on these markets because they have 100% insider information. FDA decision. The Takeda drug. FDA decision. Ivonescimab by Summit. Yeah, this is relevant. FDA decision. Is this already open? Ifinatamab. Deruxtecan by Daiichi Sankyo. Uh, FDA approved Verve 102. FDA approved a cure for type 1 diabetes. A cure? What kind of dumbass actually posed this question? FDA approved camizestrant for advanced breast cancer. FDA decision DTX 401 by Ultragenyx. I thought it's only for companies with market cap of 500 millions or more. What is it? Ultragenyx Pharma. Genix for market cap. Okay, it's a $2.5 billion company. Fair enough. Brepocitinib by Priovant Therapeutics. Whatever this one, however you say this one, from Gilead. Is that a HIV drug? FDA decision. A Glaxo. I thought Brivovixin. BBP 418 by Me Bio Solutions. BBP 418. Substrate. Developed by Bridge Bio. Huh. Alright. And Nitocell by Gilead. Okay. Let's just take a look at that one because this is so timely given that they have just approved the 503A, right? For 503? What is it? BPC? BPC? Right here. Broader use. That's the news. They approved BP157 for 503A bulk list. Let's just ask the question. What does it mean? What does category 1 drug mean? Not fucking schedule 1, category 1. Officially known as Schedule 1 drug. It's classified officially by the Drug Enforcement, a substance with a high potential for abuse. So what does this even mean? Market rules. Classify to category 1 of the bulk substance list. Oh, I think I didn't write this question correctly. which consists of ingredients nominated with sufficient supporting information, nominated with enough data for the FDA to review. Does not plan to take actions against compounders using these substances while final evaluations happen, may be eligible to the 503A or 503B compounding bulk list. Key rules, not approved yet. Category 1 means it's under review. Does not mean FDA has officially. Sufficient supporting information. Active status. Existing Category 1 substance remains usable by traditional pharmacies, outsourcing facilities under interim guidelines. What? Category 1. Nominated by sufficient supporting information. Doesn't make sense. Interim policy for compounding drugs using bulk drug substances. Eligible inclusion of 503A bulks list where nominated with sufficient supporting. Does not intend to make action against compounder. These substances were nominated for sufficient supporting information to permit FDA to evaluate them. This is category 2 and they may be eligible inclusion on the 5.3 bulk list. However, FDA has identified a significant risk relating to the use of these substances in compounding pending further evaluation. Therefore, does not intend to adopt the policy described in category 1. Category 3. These may be eligible in inclusion 503 bulk list, but were nominated with insufficient supporting information for FDA to evaluate them. Are not eligible for the policy that applies to substances. Okay. So I guess the question here is never. If I had the money to do it, I would bet the house on no. Is it yes or no? No. It's before September, before November, before 2027, before April 15th, before May 6th, 7 different options. I'll say never. Before. Is there anything like? What about after July? I have no idea. Huh. Yeah, it's super confusing. Anyways, we'll explore more maybe tomorrow or something. Kind of tired, so yeah. On these weekend editions, we're not gonna go look through the Instagram or TikTok videos of the disease indication or people carrying the disease that we're looking at, but we would rather take a look at Kaoshi. Okay? Sounds good? Sounds like a plan, right? So good. Now let's call it a wrap and good weekend, everybody. Signing off. Adios.